So, Ms. Dunhoft, how many years have you been teaching?
17.
17. What is your background on teaching students from diverse backgrounds and or students with disabilities?
Well, lots of kids with disabilities, different, ADHD, reading disabilities, etc. Taught that since I started. Kids from different socioeconomic backgrounds. We don't have a lot of racial diversity here, but socioeconomics and special needs kids are two big diverse populations.
Agreed. So, in your own words, how do you define an inclusive classroom?
A classroom where all kids, regardless of background or ability, are all taught in the same environment. You don't have those isolated classrooms for the kids that have different needs and things like that.
Perfect. In our third period class, how many students do we have on an IEP?
We have 13.
13 of?
27.
27, so over half.
Yes.
How different are the levels of these students in that classroom?
They're very different. We have kids that score well above benchmark on standardized testing, but we also have kids that are, 3 or 4 levels below. Some kids that are just barely out of the Read 180, the kids that, barely can read at grade level. So we have various levels.
Various levels. And how do we differentiate instruction for all those students?
It's a lot more step-by-step with those kids. We break down the assignments differently. We do more group work. We maybe shorten assignments, model things a little bit more for them because they need to see that positive behavior in the classroom.
What do you think our inclusive classroom looks like from the outside?
I hope it looks like a regular classroom from the outside, not, the kids that need the extra help or the kids that are different in a little corner and everybody else over here. I think if somebody walked in, they wouldn't be able to tell which kids are the special population and which ones aren't. At least that's what we try to foster.
Right, that's
here
the strive.
anyway.
That's what we strive for. What is the most important aspect of an inclusive classroom?
That all the kids are held to the same standards and feel that they can be successful. And maybe for one kid, success is a C, and one kid, success is an A. But as long as they feel they've gotten what they can, I consider that successful.
I would agree. How do you define success in an inclusive classroom?
Kids working to the best of their ability and not worrying so much about what the number looks like, but if they grew from one assessment to the next, I think that's what we need to look at.
Right. I think that's the big push in our district, in our school building.
I do.
Growth.
I think the benchmark is arbitrary for some of these kids because they're so far below it, that's hard. But if they grew 5 points, if we focus on that, I think they're better.
I would agree. How is that different from a general education classroom?
I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. I think the instruction looks a little different, but how we measure success is always going to be the same. Are kids growing? Are they learning? And are they being engaged in the classroom? Those are the 3 things that every classroom should have.
Right. How do we establish and foster relationships with students, especially those with challenging behaviors?
I think, especially the kids with challenging behaviors, you just have to build that rapport with them, and instead of calling them out for what they do wrong, make sure to point out when they're doing things right, and just show them that we're on their side and not the enemy.
Right. One thing I like to do, as well as you like to do, is kind of introduce them when they come to class. Hey, how you doing, John?
Yeah, call them by name.
Right.
They're not just a face in the crowd. We know who they are.
Right. So how do we keep all the students motivated in our class?
We do a lot of incentives. We do PBAS here, and the freshmen have a program. We do the AIR program, so they do something good. They get tickets for the auction at the end of the year. The school has Pioneer coupons. So, a lot of external motivation for those kids, and praise too for a lot of these kids works really well.
Right. What are some struggles that we face in an inclusive classroom?
Sometimes it's meeting the needs of all those kids. You've got some of the kids that are well above grade level who don't need all of the modifications, and the class moves a little slower sometimes, and you've got the kids who need the extra support. So I think finding that common ground where they can all work together is tough.
Right. Do you have any advice for new teachers involving how to be successful in an inclusive classroom?
You just have to change, it's almost like you have to change the rules for some of those students. Some of the behaviors that you look at as problem behaviors for your honors students aren't necessarily going to be the same things you nitpick on with your inclusive classroom kids, because sometimes they have to get up and move around, and I think we have to understand that all the kids are different, regardless of level, and we have to meet their needs individually and not as a group.
All right, thank you.